What's up, everyone? This is Destroyer229, and welcome back to Let's Play Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Last time, we learned a little bit more about what happened in the final days of the Joe Dark killings. We've learned from Emma's side of the story what exactly she saw, since she was a key witness. Lana's side, where she worked alongside Gant on the investigation, and just what she did in the immediate aftermath, and a little bit more about Marshall and why he did what he did with this current case. In this episode, we are off to, well, somewhere else. We need to try to find some way to get access to Gant's office. So, let's head on back to Criminal Affairs and see if we can't try to find our way over there. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted.
That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes.
Oh, you're looking for the others? They're all in the conference room. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. Yeah, with the chief prosecutor saying what you did, and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media and tomorrow's trial. Yeah, there's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. Now, busier than, more so Black Friday and Christmas Eve, but yeah, pretty much.
Sir? We'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office.
Yeah, just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor.
Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything.
Hey, you're right! You can't go in there! It's off limits! Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office.
Yeah, apparently everyone here is a bit incompetent and just be like, oh yeah, it's just this way. Are you sure you should be telling us this? Should have said that, should not have said that. Anyway, now that we know where Gant's office is, let's take a look. I swear, this may be my second time going through this. The organ is still really weird. It's like, and I mentioned this before in like the bad audio. It just reminds me of Ganon. Like Ganondorf's castle. Like, you know you're a villain if you have a giant freaking organ. Also, it explains his theme song. Whoa! Where am I?
In the chief's office, silly. At least that's what it said on the door.
Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it?
Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. I never could remember where C was.
Okay, before this, Emma, maybe start with piano before going to organ. Just a thought. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant! Put that paper he was reading on in his desk. So, Righto! Have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kinda busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement. Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies. And see that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it, though. I can see exactly what it is, though. And I did actually catch on to that pretty much immediately. In case you're wondering, like, ooh, like, or you're kind of bummed out that's like, oh man, I wish I could have seen Destro's reaction to, like, these sorts of things. And yeah, it is kind of a bum, but with one exception, I was able to catch on to pretty much everything. And like I mentioned last time, I will explain fully when we get to the one piece that got me stumped. Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to have to lock up here, so let's go out together.
Oh, but this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it anymore. Now, hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend.
Looks like we aren't welcome.
Seems that case isn't over with yet, after all.
What do you mean?
Chief Gant denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there.
You mean like a clue?
There's gotta be a way we can get inside the chief's office. So that's basically what our primary goal with this case is, or at the very least with the investigation is. We need to get into that office. And Gant locked us out, so we're gonna need to find another way to get in. Hey, pal! Detective Gumshoe! Wait, aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? I'm, just taking a breather. Yeah, my feet hurt.
From sitting so long?
Actually, from serving everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No. Why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battle's between you two in court. That sounds serious.
Is it because of what my sister said?
That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood.
Yikes.
Yeah, considering that there were all the rumors floating around, now they actually have something to back it up. Even if it was because of Lana and Gant, Edgeworth's still kind of under the knife. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor is responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor has kept him safe from those who don't like him. But now, with this...
Are there really so many people who hate him?
In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only has that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey, Dick! Keep up the good work! Yes, sir! Let's go out to lunch again sometime. My treat! Yes, sir! Gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir! Seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. Well, I mean, Edgeworth has been through a lot, and especially when it came to everything with the DL6 incident before. Yeah, Edgeworth is under a lot. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dark left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean when he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl?
Me.
It seems Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all.
Well, what was it?
Oh, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress.
Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory.
Well, before that, Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take the serial killing? One day, on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car.
With his car? So, it was an accident?
An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal.
An animal?
He killed a man that witnessed the accident. Then he killed a lady who saw the second crime. A kid walked by just then, so he killed him too. Then while he was burying the bodies, a jogger came upon the scene and killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. Yeah, so probably not how that happened, especially since there would have absolutely been evidence if someone was hit with a car. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. Yeah, my point exactly. Pretty sure he's a bit more careful than that. Or, oh boy, a lot more people were incompetent. So he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim, Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily Dark was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed. That last witness, aka Emma. Okay, well, we should definitely present him with something to jog his memory. So, hey Gumshoe, take a look at this. About this. Hey, is that? It has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker.
On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler.
That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me.
Well, what is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again.
Okay, so about the murder weapon. This knife. It was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at. Plus, it had his fingerprints on it too.
But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right?
That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken!
You don't have to take a good look to notice that.
Yeah, well, anyway, take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in.
Where was it?
The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet. Down to the last fiber.
That's pretty conclusive.
Okay, and we have Neil's autopsy report. Somehow. So, stabbed in the back, died from a punctured heart and lung, and a knife tip was found in the wound. And also the switchblade's been updated. Belong to the murderer, Joe Dark. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gant. It's not money, but it does concern the chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered.
The chief's out now and his office is locked. But we'd like to have a look around if that's okay.
Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door.
What? Really?
But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust.
Breach of trust?
Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you.
How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's.
That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died.
Oh.
So, in other words, Gumshoe is our only chance of getting into that office.
I wonder if there's something we could show him that would make him change his mind.
Okay, so we need some sort of ID card, and I guess the guest ID card would be exempt from that. So we need something to convince Gumshoe to let us in there, which we don't have. Well, nothing really much more for us to do but head back to the old crime scene. No one's here today. Not even Miss Starr.
Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are.
But we proved in court today that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m.
Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case.
But instead, it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty.
Hang in there, Lana.
I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. So nothing much more we can do here, and nothing really much that we can investigate here either. But we can head on over to Edgeworth's office. I wonder if Edgeworth is back yet.
There he is! It looks like he's writing something.
What are you doing here? You sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Tough day in court, huh? Huh. I've had to live the past 2 years with rumors flying around. What's another allegation to me?
Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you.
That's Edgeworth for you. Always trying to hide his real feelings. So, what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. Okay, calm down there, Edgeworth. I just wanted to talk. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, the evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error. My responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same, no matter what excuses I might have.
Mr. Edgeworth.
I take pride in my work. So tell me why? Why has it all come to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. Yeah, I could tell that it's really eating him up, because Edgeworth wants to find the truth to everything. I mean, he'll do whatever it takes to get a guilty verdict, but he wants to do it legit. We've seen that before, and even if he loses, he still wants to get to the truth of the matter. Are you up for the trial tomorrow? Huh. First last year's trial, and now this one. It seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves.
But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial.
Tomorrow is the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? The list of evidence. It seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. It's only half as long as most lists? That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but I knew what I had to do. Use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty. That was really the only thing on my mind at the time.
Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time.
That picture? Something seems strange about it. Okay, well, before we show Edgeworth that, could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered. You're participating in a ceremony over at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one.
Because you were awarded this?
Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished up at the office in the morning, then drove over to the police department. You finished up at the office? Yes. Just odds and ends. Clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back.
Take something back?
This.
Oh yeah! Chief Gant asked you to hold on to that, didn't he?
Yes. It was a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office. That's the story we heard yesterday. So you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to? That's right. Yeah, that seems really weird. Just some random case that he was asked to bring stuff back for. Still, the big thing that is cause for pause is just the King of Prosecutors trophy is just a broken shield. It's a broken shield with a K here. But looking at the picture here with Marshall, there's a sword in that one. And that was something that I picked up immediately, was that sword there. So, why is it different? This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy.
Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me.
Yes?
The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding. It's a little different than yours.
Yes, you're right. I remember now. Remember what? That was what the official prosecutor's trophy looked like until 2 years ago. There's a story behind its design.
A story?
Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. Okay, what does a sword and shield have to do with contradiction, though? This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with 2 characters. The first means halberd, and the second means shield. Have you heard this story? Me? Oh, sure. Everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though? For Emma's sake. Very well. Long ago, in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day, he presented the king with 2 items. The first was a halberd he claimed could slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Huh. Wait a minute! Those claims contradict each other! Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard this story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of these items discredit them both. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus the Chinese word for contradiction was born.
Oh, I see. So the chipped shield and the broken knife symbolize...
Precisely so. They symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words. But it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion, even if it results in something as ugly as this.
Wow. Thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today.
That's funny. If that's so, then why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished. Chief Gant? So Gant removed the halberd portion of the King of Prosecutors trophy. Okay. Now, a little bit further on ahead is where I really get stumped. Right now, it's just been talking to people, show the obvious evidence, point, and keep talking to people. But there is something that's in Edgeworth's office that I completely glossed over, and it took me like 20 minutes of just going through and just showing Gumshoe and then Edgeworth, and also someone that we're going to meet very soon. And it took me just going through various different things in order to actually find what exactly we needed to progress. This was the one thing that I mentioned before that I just got stumped on. And it's the fact that if we examine Edgeworth's office, when we walked in on him, he threw something on the ground, and it's actually shown here. I did not see this before, and I had to just backtrack after spending so long trying to figure things out. I'll show some of what Gumshoe has to say about certain items, but this is actually very important. I wonder what he was writing before.
Come on, Mr. Wright. Let's take a look.
Are you crazy? Edgeworth's standing right there.
Just distract him. I'll check it out.
Hey, Edgeworth! Is that Detective Gumshoe out the window there? Oh no, he's falling to the ground! Hold on. First, let me see what this girl's doing crawling around my feet. You didn't even look!
What? Letter of...
If you're having trouble reading, I'll read it for you. It says Letter of Resignation. Resignation? Edgeworth, you don't mean... I'm tired, Wright. I feel as if something inside me has died.
But Mr. Edgeworth, none of it was your fault.
I know the path I've walked. You don't need to tell me. And the path I've walked hasn't been a just one. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. And no one else should forgive me either. Uh-oh. I think he's serious.
Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something!
This letter of resignation. I wonder if I can use it for anything. So now, he's serious. So now we have the letter of resignation. I mean, we can take a look at it real quick. There's not really a whole lot here. Everything's just kind of muddled. So yeah, nothing really a whole lot here.
Due to recent events, I hereby announce my resignation as public prosecutor.
He really wrote a resignation letter.
Wow, even when resigning, Mr. Edgeworth is cool and concise. Still, it wasn't his fault.
Someone has to be held responsible. That's how it is in the grown-up world.
Yeah, but that responsibility means nothing if he just quits.
Well, not everyone sees it that way.
To truly take responsibility, you should have to work the rest of your life with no pay.
That's one tough grown-up world there. Yes. Continue to work to pay off your debts by having no way to sustain yourself. The perfect way to atone for your sins. Absolutely perfect, Emma. Absolutely perfect.
Excuse me. Would either of you care for a quarter-pound of roast beef?
Miss Starr! I guess she's out of lunches.
You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked a cow's nipple to discover milk. Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago.
Everyone in this trial was involved in the SL9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day the evidence from that case was due for transferal. This can't all be attributed to mere coincidence.
Aren't you forgetting something? You know, that little scene I happened to witness?
The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife.
No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savored when eaten.
Miss Starr's hatred towards Lana. It all dates back to 2 years ago. Yeah, 'cause Lana was kind of responsible for her losing her dream job. So, it very much... I mean, we've already known that she's been kind of biased towards Lana to begin with, but even more so.
Joe Dark. That's a name I'll not soon forget. We trailed him for half a year. The pressure. Still, I don't think I was ever more alive than I was then. Those days were steamier than a bowl of hot gravy. Poor old Jake Marshall, though. Must have been going through hell.
You mean because of his brother's death?
They were close, those two. After Neil died, something took over Jake. He became obsessed. Seeing Jake like that made her all the more desperate.
Her?
Lana Skye. My sister? The best of the best were put on that SL9 case. Of course, they were led by that legendary duo. Lana and Chief Gant.
So what happened after everything, was resolved?
That legendary pair was the reason we were able to keep up our investigation. That's why we were so shocked over how it turned out.
You mean with the forging of the evidence?
Don't get me wrong, Joe Dark got what he deserved. Still, it was obvious the evidence produced in court was being manipulated. Items our team never found would suddenly appear, while other items were kept secret. But you don't have proof anything illegal was done. I'm proof enough of what happened. After that case, all of us save Goodman were relieved of our duties. Most without even so much as an explanation. Then Lana Skye transferred to the prosecutor's office and became chief prosecutor. Lana always wanted to be a prosecutor. Nothing quite as simple as it appears.
Oh, let me try that again.
Nothing's quite as simple as it appears. Huh? Lana Skye was merely being used as a pawn. That's my take on the matter.
She was being used? Okay. First, tell us more about the legendary duo.
Damon Gant and Lana Skye. Gant led the investigation, with Lana second in command. They were the best. They solved all kinds of cases together, didn't they? Damon Gant's magnetism in particular, was almost unreal.
His magnetism?
By that, I mean his ability to attract evidence. He'd produced the most incredible evidence in the cases he handled.
Incredible evidence? You mean...
Oh yes, there were rumors about him even back then. No one dared confront him, though.
I take it she's talking about forged evidence.
Back then, everyone looked up to Lana. All the detectives wanted to be like her. Really? Oh yes, myself included. I was a fool, really. She hated anything crooked, and always watched out for the other detectives. That's why she was so concerned for Jake. Mr. Marshall. When Jake's brother was murdered, she felt as if she had lost her own brother. If it wasn't for her, I don't think Jake would ever have recovered from his shock. That's what makes it all the more infuriating. Miss Starr. That's why I'll never be able to forgive her. Why did she have to turn so cold after that?
What was this about being used? Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office 2 years ago, didn't she?
Yes, thanks to Chief Gant's powerful influence. Chief? That's right. Having solved the SL9 case, his position as chief was secured. There was only one thing left for him to control, and then no one could stand in his way. The prosecutor's office.
What? You mean that's why Lana was transferred?
If he could control the chief prosecutor, he could control the prosecutor's office. That must have been his goal all along. But how could he control Lana? I don't know, but one thing's for sure. Ever since that case ended, she's never been the same. It's only logical to conclude there must have been a reason for her to change.
At last, I'm finally getting close to the bottom of this ugly mess. Thank you, Miss Starr.
You listen to me, rookie. It takes more than just ingredients to create a fine cuisine. I hope you turn out to be a better chef than I've been.
Okay, so everything is pointing back to Gant. Gant was head of this investigation. Gant has had a history of just having evidence just magically show up. Gant seems to be basically connected to everything with SL9, and he's refusing us looking into his office. So all signs seem to point to Gant being involved in some way with the SL9. Perhaps he was the one who forged the evidence and Lana had to be complicit in it, I suppose. The biggest question is, what does Gant have to do with this case, with Detective Goodman? I mean, it seems like the most obvious thing is that when we look at the ID record, it's gotta be Gant being 777. But how and why would he go there? And what does he have to do with these killings? What does he have to do with the Joe Dark killings besides just being the head prosecutor? And, kind of a bit more subtly, why did he change the King of Prosecutors trophy? Well, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered, but with the threat of Edgeworth resigning, that might put a fire under Gumshoe. So we're gonna go ahead and call it a day right here. So, next time on Let's Play, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. With a little bit more information, we're starting to piece together a few things, and especially Gant's involvement with everything. But we still don't have everything that we could potentially have, especially since we would very much want to take a look as to where Neil died. So, we'll take a look at, well, we'll have another conversation with Gumshoe, and hopefully we could maybe just weasel our way back into Gant's office. So, until next time, everyone, take care.